All right, family, let's go ahead and get into it. The Celtics versus the Atlanta Hawks. A lot of people thought this was going to be the Celtics versus the Miami Heat. Miami Heat laid an egg at home, and Atlanta is in there. A lot of storylines. Trey Young, Jalen Brown, their futures have been subject to rumors lately. And the Celtics are looking to get back to the finals and actually win it this time. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start with those Celtics. What is their number one key? 3-point shooting. This is a team that under Joe Mazzulla's stead, they have been shooting threes at a higher percentage, making that a higher percentage of their shots. He comes for the more analytic background that loves to shoot threes. And they've shot it like the Warriors this year. If you look at their percentage, you have a lot of guys shooting above 37%, above 35%. One of them not being Jason Tatum, which is kind of ironic. But they have bombed away at three all season. Now, I think what that leads to is when you get to the playoff, is that really going to last? You have a guy like Derek White who's shooting this type of percentage, who was not known as a shooter his whole career. Is this something that's going to last, or does he have a bad shooting game, a game one or a game three, and that kind of follows him for the whole series? I would say that their shooting and their variance leave them susceptible to having bad offensive games because they do not really have any other variance in their offensive package. There's not really anyone that attacks the rim at a high rate as far as a guard or a forward. So, do they make their shots if they have a bad shooting series? I think that leaves them vulnerable. And the Atlanta Hawks have the talent to win a couple games and maybe even upset and steal the series. So I would say that is my first key. My second key is Robert Williams. He is their most athletic and most impactful defensive player. He's missed a couple games with a knee injury, and I don't know if this is something that's going to linger as the playoff continue. They have options at the bigs with Al Horford and Grant Williams, and those guys provide shooting, but what they do not provide is the downhill action and the downhill attacking rim with the rim runs and lobs that Robert Williams provides. So is he going to be able to play in this series? Is he going to be healthy? I think they're also probably going to need his athleticism and ability to switch out on Trey Young and DeJounte Murray, who like to attack and evolve big men in pick and roll actions. That's a lot to ask of Al Horford at this stage in his career to do for 35 to 40 minutes in a series. So I think he's a big key in this series due to the variation that he provides them in their offense and his ability to switch on defense. And finally, for the Boston Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, this is his first year as a head coach. If you listen to Boston fans, if you have one in your life, they probably have not been happy with him, his rotations. He has frozen in a couple key stretches and refused to call timeouts. He's going to be tested. This is his first action. There's a lot of expectations on the Celtics, a lot. I think one loss could lead to a lot of angst and a lot of finger wagging and hand wringing in Boston. What does he do? Does he shorten up his rotation? He's played a lot of guys. In particular, what does he do in crunch time possessions? He's refused to go to guys like Derek White, who've had great seasons. So I'm really interested to see what he does and how he shows up in the playoffs. For the Atlanta Hawks, the number one question is going to be officiating. Uh, you know, I talked about in the preview of Miami versus Atlanta is that last year the Miami Heat were allowed to be physical with Trey Young. The referees didn't call a lot of fouls. They were able to, arm bar him and ride him into situations that he wanted to go. That's right up Marcus Smart's alley, right up Derek White's alley. Are they going to be allowed to be physical with him, or are the referees going to call this series tight? If they call this series tight, Atlanta has a good chance in this series. Not I wouldn't pick them to be the favorite, but if things go their way, if they have a couple bad shooting nights in Boston, I could see Atlanta definitely making this a series. If the referees allow Marcus Smart and Derek White and the Celtics as a whole to be very physical with Trae Young in particular, I think that bodes very well for the Celtics, and this might be a quick series. So the officiating is going to be my number one key for the Atlanta Hawks. Or are they going to allow the very physical contact, very physical style of defense that Marcus Smart and Derek White are probably going to employ on Trae Young? I don't think either one of them can keep up with Trae Young foot speed. In particular, Marcus Smart has shown some signs of slowing down. So I'm interested to see how this series is officiated. One, my second key has to be DeAndre Hunter. How does he play in this series? He's probably going to draw the assignment of Jason Tatum um, to start off with. He made his claim to fame was really neutralizing Julius Randle 2 years ago in that playoff series that the Hawks won in the Garden. Can he provide that same type of defensive intensity to a Jason Tatum? Now, this is two different players, two different styles of attacking the rim. But as I mentioned, Jason Tatum has kind of struggled shooting the three ball this year. DeAndre Hunter is bigger than him. He's long, he's athletic. I wouldn't be surprised if he defends him and has some success against him the same way that Andrew Wiggins had success for the Golden State Warriors. If that is the case, the Hawks are definitely in business. So he did not guard Jimmy Butler well last year when the Hawks lost to the Heat. Can he provide a similar defensive intensity that Andrew Wiggins provided, that he provided a few years back versus the Knicks? So DeAndre Hunter is my second key, and his shooting, they need him to make shots. And finally, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. What does that pairing do in this series? I mean, obviously the ball is going to be in their hands the majority of the time. And, a lot of people, when Trae Young came into this league, compared him to Steph Curry. But when you look at his numbers actually shooting, he's an average shooter. He shot the ball from the 3 point line this year at a 33% clip. That is just as below average. Does he make those shots this series? Can he turn it around? He had a good game versus Miami, as far, my personal opinion, distributing the ball and making plays. He did not have a good game shooting. That is not going to fly versus Boston. They need the AA game from Trae Young. They also need a good game from DeJounte Murray. I've seen him have stretches where he's balled out. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a lot of Jaylen Brown defensive assignments. He's shown his ability to guard bigger guards. They need scoring. They need this 1-2 punch to be what they thought they were getting when they traded for DeJounte Murray. If not, you've heard the rumors of Trae Young possibly being on the market. I think this is a big series to determine how far the two of them can coexist and go as a nucleus of a team, because this Atlanta team is very talented. They're relying on these two guys to lead them. Can they do it? Prediction time. I'm gonna go with Boston in six. I think this series is gonna be a lot more competitive than most people are. I think Atlanta does have a chance, a very slim chance, but I do they think they have a chance in the series. If Trae Young can play well, if DeAndre Hunter can defend, they have an opportunity to win. On the Boston side, they're a high variance team, shoot a lot of threes. If they shoot the threes like they shot in the regular season, nobody really has a chance of beating them. But this is not the regular season. Every stat will show you that 3 point shooting in particular goes down when playoff times come. And that's what happened to Boston last year. If you look at Boston last year, they started off very strong with the sweep of the Nets, and then they began to fade. They went seven with a Milwaukee team that lost Chris Middleton. They went seven with a Miami Heat team that a lot of people thought was not as talented as them. And then you go to the finals and you give up the ghost in the Garden and end up losing three straight to the Golden State Warriors. So this is a very big series for Boston. I mean, this would be the disaster of all disasters to lose to Atlanta. So uh, I'm looking at Boston in six. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a fire under ass and try to get a sweep, but I think this series is going to be more competitive than people think. All right, so let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and as always, the game is the game.